My colleague Petra Nedbalkova and I went to Myanmar to visit one of our projects. It is not the only project which we have, and we will see a map here of our projects from all around the world. If I may ask for the next slide. If you look at the different colors and continents, you would get a little bit of information about what we do and where we work. The most boring color is the gray one, and those are our offices. One is in Prague and one is in Milwaukee in the United States. The more interesting colors, though, are the red, green, and yellow, and violet. The red color are our humanitarian projects. The green color are our farming projects. The violet color is our project with women in Ethiopia, and the yellow color are our social projects. And we work in a number of countries, as you can see. We work in Africa, in Ethiopia. We are just starting a brand new project, which is not here on the map, which we are very excited about, which is in Zambia. We work in Eastern Europe, in Moldova, in Ukraine, in Georgia, and we work in the Middle East with Syrian refugees in Jordan. We work in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia, and in Nepal recently, and we work in Myanmar, Burma. And that's the project which we are going to talk about today.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone, again. We are very pleased to be here with you and to share our experiences from the Myanmar trip. So I would like to introduce you the project a bit. So we started to work in Myanmar since 2014. The situation in Myanmar is a bit complicated because there are some ethnical problems between Buddhists and Muslims, and these problems are here for a few decades, and are a bit. The situation is not improving. Since 2012, the situation got worse. And so that's why we decided to join, to start this project in 2014. So yeah, and then also for the geographical situation, as you will see on the map later, we work in the Rakhine State, which is situated in a Bay of Bengal. And so also from the geographical point of view, the Rakhine State is quite in a difficult area because there are many dangers of natural disasters like cyclones and fires. So that's why this region is particularly vulnerable. So about the project, in 2014, we started the project with three important activities. The first one is five volunteers training. Why just fire? Because the family of the internally displaced people who has to be displaced because of the ethnic conflicts are living in longhouses in IDP camps. So in every longhouse there are about 4 or 5 families, and they are using a fire to cook. So this is why there is a particular danger of a fire, and that's why it's very important to make a sensibilization and to prepare them for a danger of a fire. So that's why we decided to train about 140 volunteers in 7 camps. In these 140 volunteers, there are about 124 women, which is quite interesting. We also provided the material for 5 points, and we also distributed about 800 kits with the most important hygienic items for about 800 most vulnerable families. So that was the project in 2014. Then this year we added some new activities. So this year we would like to work on a disaster reduction plan in 5 schools. What does it mean? The disaster reduction plan means to be prepared for a disaster. So as I was saying, the region in Rakhine State and Sittwe is quite vulnerable. So it's important for the school to be prepared for the natural disasters risks. So that's why we will try to prepare the most important measures to start in a case of a natural disaster. And we will also distribute some first aid kits in these 5 schools. So this will be the project in 2015.
It is not completely typical for our organization that 2 people would be visiting a project at the same time. Usually the coordinators travel by themselves, but from time to time, I, as the director of the organization, want to go and see the project itself as well. The tasks of Petra when she was going to Myanmar was to spend as much time as possible with our partners, to spend lots of time with the beneficiaries, to be working with her hands on the project. It is an opportunity which each coordinator of our projects receives once a year to go to the project and just spend days, weeks working with our partners in the field. We would love in the future for the coordinators to be able to do this more than just once a year, twice or even 3 times a year. But at this moment, we don't have enough finances to be able to cover the travel expenses of our coordinators. So Petra went to the project to work hard. And you might expect me to go there just to have fun, but it was not the case. It is so that I want to visit each project 1 in 3 years to be able to see the development in the project, to be able to check with my hands on how the project is going, if we have been really fulfilling the outcomes, if the goals are being reached, if we really are working towards the same goal with our local partners, and if our goals, as we see them from here, are really those goals that are helping the beneficiaries in the field. So that was the reason why we, both of us, really were down there in the project, and you will see on some of the pictures that we were really, so to say, on the level of the grassroots. The first thing which I needed to do when I came there, speaking about this, was to buy flip-flops, because I realized that with my regular shoes, I wouldn't be able to survive in the situation of muddy and rainy camps. But maybe you should look first on the map and talk a little bit about Myanmar. You can see on the map that Myanmar is a state which is quite long, north and south. It borders on India, on China, on Bangladesh, and on Thailand. And it is quite a long shore along the Bay of Bengal. And along this shore in the south, you would find the biggest city, Yangon, which used to be the capital of Myanmar until recently. That is the place where the main office of our organization, LWF, of our local organization, is located. And there is the place where the high management of our projects is being done, where the finances and bookkeeping is being done, where the management, high-level management sits and organizes the projects, but the projects themselves are being organized in Sittwe, which is a town about 600 kilometers north of Yangon in the Rakhine State, as you heard, and we have about 50 people on staff in Sittwe itself, people who work in the camps and who work really with their hands on. When we first came to Myanmar, we spent 2 days in the office in Yangon, but then we went for 8 days to Sittwe to spend most of the time for the visit in the situation itself, and then we returned back to Yangon for a day and a half of debriefing, and that was basically all of our visit. The timing was quite crucial of our visit. We went to Myanmar in the situation of rain. It was a rainy season, and it was virtually raining every single day when we were working there, except of Sunday. You would not believe it. We did not believe that. On Sunday, there was not a single drop. The sun was shining, but until late Saturday night, and again, starting early Monday morning, the rain was just pouring and the winds were really heavy, and it just would not stop. There would not be 1 hour when the rain would stop. And the situation was very interesting for us. I myself have never been in such a long period of rainy season. It was quite untypical for Sittwe itself. We stayed in a nice, comfortable hotel. But still, in our situation, the outcomes of the rain were really we could feel the outcomes of the rain. I left my passport one evening on a shelf, which was like 3 feet above the ground, above the floor, and in the morning the passport was all crooked and it was all wet. Our camera was completely unusable one day because it was so wet, because of the moisture of the air, that we had to dry it under the air conditioning to be able to use it the next day. Our clothing was wet all the time. And now this was in a very comfortable hotel. And imagine that the people in the IDP camps are staying in little wooden huts, and there is rain virtually pouring into their homes, and they have no place to go. They have no air conditioning to turn on. They live in homes which they call longhouses, and it is a home which is usually divided into 4 or 5 units. Each unit consists of 2 rooms or 2 rooms and a very small room, and one family would be living in these 2 rooms. So one longhouse would be shared by 4 or 5 families, out of which each one would be of 5 to 8 members. And you imagine that these people are people who 2 years ago were living a sedentary life, many of them in the very center of Sittwe. People who were having their own businesses. The children were going to school, to high schools. They were going to elementary school. And from one day to the other, the situation of these people completely changed. They had to leave. They had to settle in a camp for internally displaced people, as we say. And they basically lost everything. They lost their homes, they lost their jobs, they lost their lifestyle. And they had been living here for 2 years already without any really optimistic future. When you ask them about their plans, you can see in their eyes that they really are not sure what to expect from the next day to come, not to speak about 1 month or a half year later. They just don't have any vision of the future. That is why it is very important for us to continue with this program, and we have talked a lot with our partners about extending our project also to the area of education, because we believe that it is crucial now for these people to gain skills which they need in their current situation, and especially to focus on the young people, because if the young people, 2 years are a very long time in the life of young people. And if young people learn to be hopeless and not to expect anything and not to have any goals, it will be very hard then to help them to get back on track. So this is the reason why we really are focusing on working with them.
Yeah, apart from the education, we also plan to implement some vocational trainings. We would like to. We were actually, when we were in the camps, we were asking the beneficiaries of the humanitarian aid what would they like to do. So what would be their job if they can choose to start one. So that's why that's why we have now some ideas about what to do in the future. So now I would like to show you some of the pictures from the camps. So during our monitoring visit, we visited 7 camps. So the first one was on Tau Ji, South Camp. It is one of the biggest camps. There are about 12,000 Muslims living. And this is one of the camps where the conditions are the most difficult. So now you can see the children there. Yes, this is one of the temporary learning spaces. So the children are going to the school only 3 hours a day, and they have to go there on shifts because there are not enough teachers and there is not enough space to stay longer. But they would like to stay longer, and they are very, very motivated to learn something.
It is being called temporary learning space because it is not qualified as a school. The people who have been teaching there are refugees themselves. Those are not qualified teachers, but we believe that it is really important for the children to give them this opportunity to go to school. And that is the reason why our NGO there locally pays the salaries of those people. And we have been having discussions with the local authorities about these schools being recognized as a part of the school and education structure of the country.
Yeah, so you can see how beautiful the Myanmar children are. Yeah, this is the second camp, Kangdo Karwan. Yeah, so now you can see one of the houses. And these are one of our 5 volunteers, five safety volunteers, which were trained in 2014. And you can see how proud they are to be there. And you can see also the material from the fire point, which we provided in the camp.
When you look at the fire equipment, it looks really basic. Those are just several rods with hooks for tearing down a home when it is on fire, and some buckets for keeping water. But those are really the necessities which are needed in that place for situation of fire, because the longhouses are very near to each other, and when one house catches on fire, then it is really disastrous. Part of the project, which is very crucial, is not only the equipment, but especially the education of the people. We have been working with women who then go around the camp and talk to other ladies and explain to them the danger of working with open fire, the danger of having an open candle in their home. And we are really proud that in none of the camps where we have started with this program and we have completed this program has not been a fire, has not been a major fire. Actually, in one of the camps, we had a story from the volunteers who told us that not in the camp, but outside of the camp, one of the Buddhist monasteries caught on fire, and the volunteers grabbed the equipment and ran to the monastery and were able to fight the fire and extinguish the fire before the official fire brigade came. And you should see the eyes, you should see the sparks in the eyes of the people when they were telling us how they were able to fight the fire, and you should see how proud they were.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so now you can see the state of the shelters of the longhouses where the family are living. So you can see it's quite difficult sometimes because there are many holes, and so in a rainy season the water is coming inside the houses. Yeah, and these are the children again from the camp. Yeah, Basara camp is the third camp we visited. So you can see the shelters are, the longhouses are a bit different. Yeah, this is one of the five points again with all the material we provided. Yeah, so now you can see the interior of the one of the longhouses. You can see it's very basic. So they are only the basic materials for cooking, for sleeping. Yeah. And these are children again, which were very motivated to be on our pictures.
Well, in true honesty, when a young guy sees a beautiful blonde woman from Europe, I think that all of them wanted to be photographed by Petra.
Thank you. Okay, this camp Setionesu is actually the camp which went to the monastery to fight the fire. And as Jan was saying, they were very, very proud to be able to extinguish the fire with the material from the 5 points. And one of the volunteers from this camp was at our meeting, and she was only 19 years old, and she was she was explaining us how did she felt about the fire and so on. And she told us that she had no fear, that she was very, very motivated to help the people, and actually she was able to do so. Yeah. So this is this is the camp. You can see the difference, because in this camp the people already moved from the longhouses to individual houses. So the situation in this camp is very, very much better, because the space is much bigger. They have more privacy. They have more job opportunities. They are free to move around the camp. So in this camp, the situation was quite positive and quite different from the other camps.
The difference was quite striking between the camps where Muslim minority was living, and between the camps where Buddhist internally displaced people were living. And at the very first moment when you enter the camp, by the quality of the housing and of the whole situation, you could tell that the Muslims camp were way, way, way more basic than the Buddhist ones.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, so this is the family of one of our guide in the camp. Very proud, standing in his house with his wife. Yeah, these are again the children motivated to be on our pictures. Yeah, and this is a very good example of one of a successful shop. It's a small grocery shop in the camp. And the lady, the owner of the shop, told us that it's working quite well. So we are very happy that the internally displaced people were able to find new job opportunities, and it's working. Yeah. So this is another camp. Yeah. These are the longhouses again. Yeah, you can see one of the pictures from our meetings. In every camp, the first thing we've done was to have a meeting with the camp coordination management, in which the leaders chosen by the people living in the camp are. And so they are basically the managers of the camp. So they are the ones responsible for running the camp. They are the ones working with our NGO, sharing the problems and asking the questions and so on. And in this camp, it was very interesting, because there, as you can see, there were mainly women, and they were all very, very open to discuss, and all very well. Were talking quite a lot and sharing their needs with us. And so in every camp, we introduced ourselves, why we are there, what we would like to learn, and then we were listening to the beneficiaries, because it's very important to know how to adapt the project to satisfy the needs of the beneficiaries.
And the discussions were very honest. This was something which is very important to us, that we really talk to the people that we work with, and we hear directly from them what they need and how they feel about the help which is being provided to them. And during these discussions, very often the men would be those who would talk more, but the women would be those who would be more honest. The men would very often say things which they believe that the visitor wants to hear, whereas the ladies were those who really said what was in their heart. And we were really happy for that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting sometimes. You can see one of the men living in the camp while he was preparing some food, some dinner for his family. Yeah, and these are the boys from the camp playing in the football in the mat. Yeah, so this is one of the camps. In which the situation is quite better, because the internally displaced people living there also moved to the individual houses. And as you can see, there are many boats, and actually the people living in the camp are mostly fishermen, and they have the possibilities to fish the whole year, basically. So they have no problems to find jobs, so they can basically satisfy their needs. So this is one of the good example how it can work quite well. Yeah.
But in true honesty, one has to say that one of the biggest advantages of this camp is that the people living in here are of Buddhist religion, and they have stronger citizenship rights. They have the right to travel, and they have the right to go to other communities and exercise business there. That is their biggest advantage.
It's true that in the beginning I actually didn't say the most important fact, that since many decades the people from the Muslim community have basically no civil rights. They have no identity cards, their rights are not recognized by the government, and they are limited in access to the education. They can't move freely. They are not very welcome in some states, in some communities. So they are quite limited, much more limited in the Buddhist community.
And this naturally very much limits their ability to provide for themselves and to be self-sustaining.
Exactly. That's why they need more attention in the Muslim camps than in the Buddhist camps. And actually the two quite good examples are the Buddhist camps, not the Muslim ones. Yeah.
And maybe you can compare this camp, which was on a shore of a river, with the following camp, which was also on a shore of the river, but it is a Muslim camp.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see the pictures from there.
Yeah, this is again a meeting in the first camp. These are children playing. Yeah, this is the last camp actually on an island. And yeah, I don't know if you can see it quite well, but the shelters are not in the best state. Yeah, these are the people from the camp.
It was all muddy in this camp.
Yes, exactly.
When we got out of a boat, you heard it. It is a camp which is located on an island. We had to walk several hundred yards through mud. I said the first thing which we needed to buy were flip-flops. But in this situation, even the flip-flops wouldn't help, because the mud was so deep that our flip-flops were getting stuck in there. So we ended up carrying our flip-flops in our hands and just walking through the mud with our feet. And it was quite interesting to go through this. Basically, this was a welcoming into the situation where the people live, because this is exactly what they have to do every single day when they go fishing. they need to walk through the mud all the way to the lake and back. And just this physical experience was something which added to our understanding of how hard these people live in the camps.
Yeah, I totally agree. We had actually, the mat was until the knees in some of the cases. Yeah, so the situation is quite hard. Yeah, this is one of the longhouses. Maybe on the pictures you can't see as much mud as we experienced, and you can also see the state of the shelters. But there were quite a lot of holes, and some of the shelters were in a very bad state. So we are planning to repair them and to reconstruct them. So it's for the next coming year, hopefully.
The partner organization which we work with in the field is Lutheran World Federation. It is the organization, I would say, which among NGOs has, if not the longest, then one of the longest experience of working with internally displaced people and with other people who had to leave their homes and now are in refugee camps. For the first time, this organization worked with internally displaced people after World War II, when German people were displaced from Eastern Europe, including Czechoslovakia. But immediately afterwards, they were working with Palestinian refugees. And since then, you would not find, I believe, a single conflict in the world where there would be refugee camps and where Lutheran World Federation would not be present. We are very excited that we can work together with this organization with such a long history and with such a deep experience. We can be such close partners of them and working together on one project because we are part of ACT Alliance, which connects different Christian, Protestant NGOs which work together on projects. And working together as partners practically every day is one of the things which is very important to us and to our work. The other thing which is very important to us, and we believe you have noticed that from what we are saying, from the pictures, is working with real people, grassroots, down to the earth. We don't count the beneficiaries of our projects by millions, but we want to relate to them as individuals and as individual communities. We believe that small organizations like us have exactly this place where we can take care of people and help work with people who very often get omitted by the big organizations just because they are so small. And the third thing, which is very important to us, is helping people to be self-sustaining. We believe that humans are creative. We believe that people enjoy taking care of themselves, that people want to work for themselves. And we are an organization which wants to help people to be responsible for their own lives.